Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Marcus Bradley, host and founder of the XY Perspective. Tonight's call is over following the leader, the state of Black male leadership in America. My panel is always the distinguished gentlemen, Leonard Love, Tony Simmons, Marcus Massey, Jesse Archie will be joining us as well as Andre Williams. These guys have stuck around now. This is year two, and we are. Let me add one more person. I see one more person coming on. Uh, okay, we got the panel in, and we are ready. So, gentlemen, following the leader is a call that we did last year with Martin versus Malcolm, and I wanted to take a small sliver of that conversation and make it just about strictly leadership. You've all been in leadership positions or are still in leadership positions. So I wanted to touch on that and ask it for an overall view of male leadership in America. And I think I got the perfect panel to do so. So if you guys are ready, let's do it. Mr. Simmons, Mr. Simmons, you are our resident bishop. But if you could give us a prayer in, please.
Gracious Father, we come thanking you for all the many blessings that you consistently bestow upon us. We give you praise and honor and glory. And we just ask, Father, that you continue to be our lead and to be our guide. Through the many blessings that you pray and give us, we give you thanks, honor, and glory. To your precious Son, Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right, we have another guest that's joining us, but I'm gonna have to leave him muted for a second. Mr. Damon, I see you down here at the bottom. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to direct the questions to the panel, Mr. Damon. So if you have responses to the question, just feel free to put those in the chat. And eventually, once we get a couple questions in, I'll put your responses up, and then I might even bring you on so your voice can be heard. All right, gentlemen. Black male leadership in America. The first question I wanted to ask you guys is, why is Black male leadership important?
Well, I think that's very important because if we don't want to repeat some things of our history, you obviously have to make sure you have that leadership, for your family, your grandkids, and so forth. And if you look through time, even in biblical times, there were leaders like Moses, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a constant thing that you can't get away from. But if you look at Black leadership today, it's almost like it's non-existent in some ways when you look around, particularly when you look at your millennials coming through. They really don't want to be the person that takes charge. They will go and ask everybody else, what do you think about this? Or how would you pursue it? Nobody really goes and says it's responsibility to take charge of something, to be the leader of that room.
I would personally agree that trying to locate what we have known in the past to be leaders, where are our leaders that we can say that can gravitate and pull and draw people together on any accord, let alone one accord, but finding where is our leadership? At what point do we consider leaders that will be able to come and take us and lead us and pull us together so that we can have a mission to accomplish, to achieve the goals that we should set forth for ourselves as Black men, especially, to lead and guide our families and to have a hand in the growing of our youth that's coming up behind us. They are woefully lacking that visible piece to see where leadership is, what makes it what it is. And where's the separation line between not having a leader and having a leader? Where is that focal point? Where can we put our hands on the leadership that's needed to bring us together and to keep us together in solidarity and knowing that we have something to work toward and to have?
Okay. Okay. Look,
Let me make sure I'm muted here. Can you hear me?
yes, sir.
Okay, I agree, Mr. Simmons. I mean, it starts at home. Number one, first leader you look up to is your father, your grandfather. Then you go to your job. You're looking for somebody that can relate to you. Even though when this ain't back in the day when we had Malcolm and Martin. Now when somebody get out there now to try to be a leader, what we do, we shoot them down. You know, we find his faults. So it's hard for somebody to come up out the water because social media killing them and we killing them all. I mean, if we're not supporting somebody who comes out and above, then we're not really wanting any leadership. We're looking for a reason to stay there.
Okay. Okay. Well, and you all touched on a good point, is that we are lacking in leadership. There are no significant names that I know of that we can follow. I mean, I know we had certain ones throughout the 80s, a couple in the 90s, more recently Barack Obama, but these are just famous names. We are void of the people that actually get down on the street with us, that are on the same level as us, to unite us in a way that a president really can't, a congressman really can't. But it's got to be people at the local government, at the local stage, that can get us all in there. And I think we need to figure this out more than anything. And that'll probably bring me to the next question I wanted to is, we all know why it's important. What are some of the challenges faced by Black leaders? And we touched on a couple already, but everybody give me one challenge faced by Black leaders today, especially male leaders.
I'd say loyalty.
Loyalty.
Yeah, and that's on both sides of the coin. You can't be somebody who's a leader that stays loyal. Like Mr. Love just said, if you're constantly getting shot at by your own people, sabotaged, right?
Right.
And at the same time, in our community, we don't know what loyalty looks like. It looks very different in other communities on what they look like with loyalty. That's in the home, outside the home. There was a time that was there, because when we were growing up, I vividly remember anybody who felt like they had something to offer you, and they may not have been, Superman in many other ways, but what they could offer to you that they knew best, they would try to instill in you. A village. It was a neighborhood that helped you out with that. We're not so outreaching like it used to be. And a lot of that is because of the way that it's received when you do reach out.
Okay.
I think another challenge is jealousy. You always got that. Making, open up Pandora's box, because you got to get fathers to be how fathers. You got gay, lesbian. You got a challenge to try to bring all them people together to become one, which is a very big task. It probably would take more than one person. It would take a committee of people doing the same thing. You just can't put one up there. It's going to take a lot of people and a lot of teamwork amongst a lot of people.
But
if you build that baseline in the community, it can spread to the city, it can spread to the state, then it can spread through regions. It takes a whole lot of work.
Okay. All right. And I'm gonna touch on something real quick when Mr. Simmons asks.
Yeah. The lack of trust that we have in each other makes it difficult to come forward to be able to speak toward any matter or any subject. No one seems to believe that we can speak the truth to each other, that we have our best interests at heart. We've seen so much of the backstabbing and the I'll just take it from you, or what you have, I'll take it if I want it type mentality, that the trust to believe that we can work together for the betterment of each other, I don't see it. Even in talking with a lot of people just in the local community, how many of them really talk in a positive manner about coming together as a people to have and to better ourselves, without hearing about someone jacking up someone, stealing from someone, and those things that do not tend to lead to building a positive growth in each other.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, I wanted to touch on real quick as well, but let me read this comment from Mr. Damon. He put in the chat. Part of the reason there's no black male leadership today is because part of the reason there's no black male leadership is because there is not a true basis of leadership to pull from. Most of us men have only had our moms or grandmothers as the head of our lives. There has to be a foundation, and in most cases, the leaders today are athletes and artists. Very true. All very true. In today's society, strong-minded, straight black men are not highly regarded. They are looked at as being too strong or militant in a sense. If you don't support LGBTQ plus or some soft type of man, you won't be listened to. Also, if you don't have money or status, you have no credibility. Sad enough. Anybody agree or disagree with that? Because I wholeheartedly 100% agree.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a propaganda of media that's out there against us, because I can tell you, I talked to a young lady who works at child support services, and remember we talked about CDC, the stats said that, black men are the best single fathers of all communities and everything. And she could not believe that, would not believe that for nothing, because of the small pool that she's looking at with what she works with, right?
Right.
And so,
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and so it's kind of odd that kind of holds back into when you hear black queens talk about, well, there's no good men out here, there's no good black men and all that. And then they give you the example where they went and got somebody who they knew was a bad boy, who knew had issues and problems. And then they compare every black man to that bad choice that they decided to go with, right? And then it just get repeated, right? And we keep putting that in the whole media situation. Hence the reason why, like you said, it goes back to the home front. What are we doing as parents to make sure the home front is being taken care of? Because I remember my parents being very involved with who I hung around with, what my perception of myself was, what the understanding of what they had to do to take care of me. Like, we don't really have that being understood and appreciated, let alone being taught. Yet we're in here fighting for schools to teach our kids about them with people who don't look like them. Why are we not teaching our kids, right?
Right. And that brings me to some points I wanted to make. Only 2% of all teachers across the country, only 2% of black men. And this touches on the point Mr. Damon made about having only a mom and grandma to lead. Even when you go to school, like Mr. Maslin talked about, mostly all your teachers are female. So you grow up listening and doing whatever the women tell you to do, because they're in charge of everything. You come up the first until you're 18 at least. I remember 3 teachers that I had in my high school career or school career. It was only 3 teachers that I had were men, and that's all elementary, middle school, and high school. I only had 3 male teachers. Everyone else was female. And then let's add another stat on here: only 40% of black men graduate. 40%. And this is from the CDC 2022. So I'm not pulling up no old stuff. This is 2022. And another thing Mr. David talked about as well, and he touched on a lot of points, Unless you have status, money, influence, or something like that, people are not going to listen to you. So the average black man makes $828 weekly or $43,000 annually. So
There it
we
is.
think
But that's across the board, though.
right. That's
Believe
across.
yeah, yeah. Believe it or not, that's all. That's all men. The average man makes 43 to 50K. But
Right.
what's so odd is, and again, in our community of women, if you talk to them, the belief is, I need somebody making more than me and making well beyond, right? And then when you ask the question of what do they bring to the table, it doesn't make sense that you want somebody making millions of dollars and you got a degree of communications.
Well, the chances are, even if they meet someone making millions of dollars, they ain't gonna listen to them no way because men of that status require a certain structure. You didn't get to be a
Exactly.
millionaire by mistake.
Exactly.
You know? Not everybody bought a lottery ticket, so you got to have some structure and discipline in your life. But if we leave it up to financial to say, okay, he's somebody I can follow because he makes a lot of money. Is he? What type of man is he for real, though? What type of leader is he for real? He could probably just be a good rapper or have a good gimmick. And do we need to follow a gimmick? No, we need to follow actual common sense, which isn't so common. And we need to follow strong guys with good morale or good morals, and that can take us to a different level. Those people become harder and harder to find, and yet still even harder and harder to follow because they don't have, those guys keep their head down and keep grinding. They don't have a lot of social status and influence. They keep grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding. And a lot of it still revolves around who's ready to put themselves out there, like you said, Mr. Massey, and get willing to get shot down, not literally, but taken down by our own people. Oh man, he can't tell me what to do. He can't talk to me about marriage. He divorced. He can't talk to me about leadership. He was only a general manager at Zaxby's or something like that. You know, he can't lead me where I want to go. But we look at it for all the wrong reasons. So this is another question that I want to ask. You know, and we talked about some of the challenges, and let me add this to you: is race still the biggest issue facing Black leadership? Is race still the biggest issue? Because neither one of us brought that up. And Mr. Damon, I see you sit up for that one. I'm gonna bring you in. I saw you sat up for that. I'm gonna bring you in here. Let me unmute you. Panel, if y'all guys don't mind, I'm gonna go unmute Mr. Damon. Let him comment on that. Y'all okay?
Yep.
How you guys doing?
All right.
Yeah. So, yes and no. Is race the biggest issue that we are facing as far as in Black leadership today? Indirectly, yes. Excuse me, because of a systemic approach to tear down the family structure, as well as to mute the Black man over the years, with the lack of employment, lack of opportunity, people being afraid of us, us quote unquote being intimidating. So we're being flushed out in so many different ways. In that regard, yes. As far as mere opportunity, no. Racism is not the biggest thing or the number one factor that's impacting Black men today. In most cases, it's us. And the it's us stems from, again, the systemic approach over the last few decades that we've had to deal with. So I wouldn't say that it's race. No, I think that now the chains, of course, are off our bodies and it's on our minds as a community, where we are impacting one another. We are keeping each other down from some of the ideas that we've talked about already, which are you have no credibility unless you have money. You have no credibility unless you have status. If you got a Bentley and some Balenciagas, then people will listen to you. Although you can be a sour person, you can be a bad person, right? What you're showing what you're showing can be one thing, but who you are, right, can be totally different. We more so, especially the youth today, they listen to what people are showing. They'll listen to you if you're showing them, right, the right thing. So like you said, if you hit the lottery and you go buy a bunch of things, then people are going to listen to you, right? So that's my answer to that. I said to kind of like a yes and no.
Okay. Mr. Leonard, is race still the
Race is
biggest
very directly important, but I also think that society itself makes, like you said, sports, music top priority. How about they flip that around? Pay teachers millions of dollars. Pay old folks home people millions of dollars. Nurses, make them come back. The athletes and the singers, because as a kid growing up, that's all you do is see sports and inspire to be an athlete. Then when you realize you can't do it, now it's too late. Now I got to find something to fall back on, and I got to hurry up and do it because the baby need milk.
Right. And so many. Oh, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just got a quick question. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
Now, like I was going to say, so many of our athletes just want to be athletes. I think Charles Barkley is the biggest. I'm not a role model. I don't want you to follow me, and I don't want you to do what I do. But even so, we still pedestalize them, even give them all these amazing platforms to speak on, and they consistently say, "Don't do what I do. Be yourself. Be the best you." So, so why still put them up there? That further initiates the thing where you got to have some money, you got to have some status in order for me to listen to you.
Because there were some teachers I'd have rather been like. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Dad.
And let us not forget too that most of our prime athletes, look at the environment from which they came from.
Mm-hmm.
Do you actually believe that they're going to go back to these same communities where they had such a difficult time coming up, trying to get out, trying to help mom, dad, or whatever the case may be, get out of these environments? You think that they're going back there? No.
Nope.
It's not their fault. But again, they found a niche to get them out of that environment. Now, where we fail is coming together once we do make it out of these environments to stay in touch with each other. We tend to gravitate into these circles where we are now at that status, and that's where we stay. We do not stay in touch with each other. We do not find the means like this particular program to talk to each other, to see where we can be a benefit to each other, put these discussions on the table, find a format in which we can better vent these circumstances, put some plans, ideas, put some formulas together, and let's make it work. It's not that we can't do it. We just do not do it. We have achieved on every level there is to achieve, from the presidency all the way down to where you and I are right now.
Right.
There's nothing that we cannot achieve and accomplish. We just do not take the time to do it. I understand. I was one of them, working all the time just to be able to have a decent, what we consider lifestyle. We're working too much. We're busy. It's not that we don't care. We're just busy trying to maintain where we came from so we don't get back there. We don't go back there. We don't want to be back there where we came from. Now that I have maybe edged up the next level on the ladder to success, how do I balance staying where I am and reaching out to help and reaching back to help and pull together some of the others that I can help in the community? And it's such, unfortunately, that we run into so many that just will not listen to us. I heard you gentlemen talk a little earlier about the lack of men in school. It was just the opposite when I went through school. Men were the backbone of the school. Principals on down. Now that has shifted.
And
But
I think that
when I went to school, it was men.
right.
Men ran everything in the schools. Only thing you didn't see the men do was in the cafeteria cooking. Everything else,
Yeah.
we were there.
Right.
And they made it their business to ensure that the young men coming up behind them had a respectful manner.
Mm.
They chastised you the same way your own parents would. But we
Right.
don't see that anymore. And it's so unfortunate that when I hear young men saying that they only had mom, grandmom, or whatever the case may be in their life, it was a little different again for me. Dad wasn't there, but granddad, uncles, you best believe, put the law where it needed to be. Son, you will not do this. You're not going here. Oh, who that you hanging out with? Who they folks? They wanted to know all of this because, again, they realized that the apple didn't fall too far from the tree. And if you hanging out with riffraff, that's probably the way that you're going to go as well. So they insisted that you be on the porch before dark or in the house, one of the two. And there wasn't no question about it. That's the type of leadership that I don't hear or see enough of in our community, especially in our own communities.
And we're coming up now in a time where masculinity is called toxic. You know, I hear it now, even sometimes at home. You know, when I'm giving out information or directives, even to the boys now, to my sons now at home. You know, my wife is like, "Man, why are you so hard on them sometimes?" And I'm like, "Really?" This is a simple direction, but because she hasn't been used to hearing it come from a guy with a guy's voice, telling these boys what to do. It sounds hard. I'm like, oh, this is just a typical way that men supposed to talk to their sons. And either they're going to grasp the concept or they won't. And my job is to ensure that they grasp enough information and knowledge and enough of the concept so that they're better prepared when they get out here. So even leading at home is difficult. I know we talked about it in the school. That's why, 2% of the teachers are black men. It's because a stern, we all remember Joe Clark, Lean on Me, a stern black guy. They would throw Joe Clark today under the prison. Right. If he talked the way he talked and said things, regardless if he got results. I mean, they've even handcuffed drill sergeants in the military. Now they can't say what they used to say or do what they used to do. Never mind that we're training people for combat, for life and death situations. You have to be kinder and gentler. That's not going to work, but that's the way we're headed. So even our masculinity itself is challenged when the softer guy, the pushover, the simp, as they call it, the guy that just, I'll do whatever you say, ma'am. That type of dude, he leads the way. But for somebody that can actually tell a woman no for a reason, or in a situation and control it and lead it, oh no, he's controlling. He's this, he's that. So the very basis of who we are as men is being challenged, let alone the leadership we can bring to the table or put on it. Just the basic of being a masculine dude, just a regular dude is being challenged. And we're all stuck in it. And that leads me to my next point I want to do is black employees comprise 14% of the total workforce. And the management level, only 7% total are black people. That's black people. And it's probably less than that of black men. So even now we talk about at home, our masculinity is challenged, our leadership is challenged. At school, there are no black leaders at school, no black male leaders at school. And then when we go to work, no black leaders at work. So my next question is, do we have actual people as not Black Panther, not Chadwick, not actors? Are there actual black men that we can look up to and say there are a true hero or a true leader right now? Do you have one? Anybody?
You have to dig deep for that one. I mean, I would have said Thomas Sowell, but he's passed away. And if you start really looking at all the things y'all just talked about, the system is designed to keep you distracted to where you can't think about getting out of the system, right? It's designed to do that, right? And so
Yep.
even when you think about um, going to work every day, what are you taught about paying taxes and saving and getting out of working for somebody? Where there's other communities where they're already teaching their kids not to work for somebody. So they have the freedoms and liberties to do what they want to do. And we're studying in this programming, hey, I got to go get a degree and get in debt 150,000 or better in order to go get a job that I might get in my field. And then I'm going to work to 65 to get off the loan that I took out from college.
Mhm.
When are we going to wake up and realize a lot of that education we getting, a lot of those degrees they got are not money making degrees. They're not set up to get you out of debt, and they're not set up to make you wealthy, right?
Right.
And even with the situation of teachers, nobody becomes a teacher and think that they're going to get wealthy, right? Principal maybe, superintendent maybe, right? But you're not going to get wealthy being a teacher. But what if a teacher thought about being an entrepreneur and set themselves up as a business and work for the state or work for the county or whatever, and they're able to write off everything that they're doing?
Right. But
Why?
but I understand what you're getting at. But I wanted to go along the lines of, who do we know of any people that you respect and can look up to that's realistic, that can be considered either a hero or a strong male leader in America right now? Right now. One name. One name.
I couldn't even if I tried.
Yeah, that's rough.
That person would have to be a pure activist. And if you go back to the numbers that you presented earlier on this question, with the low percentage of people at their jobs and leadership position, that goes back to that racism. It's not intentional that we're not getting those positions. They're keeping us from getting those positions. They're keeping us from getting those degrees amongst ourselves. We're not doing that to ourselves.
Right.
They helping us hurt ourselves.
Well,
I mean, just having this color, we got to work that much harder. I mean, is that word going to benefit you? Maybe not, but at least you put forth your effort, make your family happy, and somebody else saw you was doing it. You know,
we kind of help them. We kind of help them by only graduating 40% of Black men.
Yeah, but when
yeah.
you flunk me and I'm getting A work, I mean, that kind of stifles the initiative. I can't blame it all on the brother. If you're going to flunk me just because, I'm doing B work, but you give me an F, and you get that blue-eyed person over there, A, doing less work than I was doing, that's not fair.
Okay. I can see that. Go ahead, Dave.
There are systems to counter that. If you have the syllabus or syllabi from the coursework that you're taking, you can't just give that person a better grade than me because you want to, because I have a syllabus that says that if I turn in this amount of work, I get a percentage for this homework, I get this much percentage for this coursework. And if I don't get the grade and I see that I've managed my syllabi, I've turned in my homework assignments, I've written my papers, I should get those percentages. If I don't get those percentages, then I can go protest and go talk to the administration about why my grade is not what it is. But what I wanted to say is I think the basis for this problem is independence, right? Okay. The reason we have no leaders is because we don't have anyone that's independent. Who teaches independence in the home? The male. The family structure, especially the Black family structure, has been broken down. That has been a systemic approach. That's been a strategic approach. So, like you touched on, if somebody was a teacher, and they were to maybe go incorporate themselves with their degree and teach independently as a 1099. Now you can control things a little bit more, right? The male teaches independence in the home. So when we're producing children from female-led homes only, right? Women are naturally dependent. So you have men that are being groomed by their moms. So when they go out into the world, they expect somebody to help and give them. They don't expect to go create and make it happen, right? It's a different mindset. So the problem is I'm living this situation. I'm currently a single dad, and I come from a single parent home where it's just my mom, grandma, no dad. You know, I had to wake up at 26 and tell myself, hey, bro, if you're going to make it happen, you got to take the bull by the horns. You know, because of what I wanted to do. My son goes to a private school. I can't afford for him to go there. He plays basketball. They gave him a scholarship to go there. I got to drive him there every day and pick him up. But I teach him, hey, no matter what they teach you in that school, you're going to learn about who you are from me. I'm the one that's going to teach you about who you are. You carry my last name. I have a pressure washing company. I'm a life insurance agent. I'm teaching him right now. I'm teaching him right now that, because some people ask, well, you know, as independent contractors, you run into hard times. So the question is, well, you know, I have 2 college degrees. Why don't you go get a job? I could very well do that. So I go make $30 an hour. When you look at $30 an hour, you take 20, that's $1,200 a week. If you take 20% off of that, it's $960. That's what $30 an hour breaks down to. So what I'm teaching my son is you'd rather make that $1,200 in a day and then use your efforts to strategically market yourself so that you can get that 2 or 3 times a week. Now you're turning over a profit that's more than what somebody could actually pay you. Now you become independent instead of dependent. Now, if we are producing independent mindsets, therein lies the foundation for our leadership. But because the home is facilitated by females, right? God bless our women. We need them, right? But at the end of the day, they are, and lots of times it's not because at their fault. Sometimes we have men out here that don't want to take responsibility. So they're left to do the best job that they can.
Okay.
So what happens is you have males that come from that production, and naturally they're gonna lean to that teaching. Another point, and then I'll be done. How can you be a man, go find a wife, and lead a household and lead that woman if your mother is your leader? Just think about that for a second. Well, if you have to go talk to your mom for guidance and for wisdom, how can you lead a woman from a woman's leadership? And that's what we have in the world today, right? We highly regard our moms and our grandmas because, as you said, we don't have male leadership out here to pull from, right? So at some point, we have to break the cycle. I'm one of the guys who's breaking the cycle. I'm not perfect by far, but I'm trying, right? With that being said, there are woes that come along with breaking the cycle that a lot of men don't want to deal with. There are different things that you have to deal with in life that come along with not getting that consistent check every week, that level of comfort, right? That independent mindset, that means you're gonna put on the armor and you're gonna take on the wiles of the world, right? So that you can be the prototype of what we need to produce strong, independent thinking males.
Okay. And anybody want to touch on that first before I go? Anybody? No?
What's that?
Anybody want to touch on that before I say something?
Oh, yeah. Just to follow up with him on that, hey, definitely. One of the reasons I pulled my son out of school was for the very reason of, again, how am I mad at somebody else that doesn't look like him to teach him about him? And what has happened with a lot of parents, we've taken our eye off the ball about what's being taught in school. It's not like how you was when you were growing up. They're not really teaching them the same things. They're trying to expose them to things and change them very quickly to not be male dominant. And definitely be subservient to think in a certain way, because if you really peel the onion back, well, who owns the schools? Well, it's the elite. The elite own the schools, and guess what they want? I don't want thinkers. I want people to go out and have strong backs. I don't need you to think. They've been trying to change the curriculum forever, and they've been successful in some ways. I don't need you to be in front of a man who's teaching you to be very male dominant, because I need you to do what I want you to do when I tell you to do it and not think about it, right? And so and I think we don't think about what power we give up when your kids go into a daycare or whether they're going to school. They will tell you very quickly, well, that's not what Mrs. Smith said, right? That's not what coach said, right? And it's very evident when you can get into an argument with your own kid about cleaning up their own room, but the coach can tell them going to run 50 laps and they're like, yes, sir, no, sir, right?
I ran
How
into
is
that
that?
same problem as a youth coach.
Yeah, how's that possible? Right.
Yeah,
right.
And then the only thing I ask you all is this question here. Are we racist against ourselves? Are we racist against Black people?
Well, I think we covered over that. And when I asked the question a couple calls ago, is are we our own worst enemy? And I think the whole panel agreed that yes, we are. And so
I think when you look at that, a lot of this is us perpetuating the same things over and over and over. That's what we're doing, right? We're not really being held down by the white man or anybody else. We're really holding ourselves down. Case in point, they do a test every year with grade school kids to say, hey, what colors are nice? What colors are safe? What colors are bad or whatever? And how can you have a dark-skinned kid who really hasn't been exposed to any racism can still say that they see something that looks like them and say that that's the person that's bad, that's ugly, that's not smart?
right. And so here's the challenge. We all can agree that it's going to start at home. But I think we all need to similarly agree that it starts where there's male presence. And whether that presence is a father figure, stepdad, dad, mentor, whatever, there are not enough of us. Like I said, this panel is like an anomaly. There's not enough of us in these homes, in these people's lives, in these kids' lives to have the impact that we need. And so even if we spread this, it needs to get up. This call needs to have at least 5,000 people on it in order for the message to start making an impact. And but it's hard to get guys to listen because of that dependence that they have on the system, or they have, because nobody wants to be the first one to step up, because the first person to step up, they take the most flack. There's people like Ralph Warnock, the first Black senator in Georgia, right? He gets all kind of flack, but he's the first. And how can we give him flack on being the first? But that's what happens. Barack Obama got split. He never did nothing for Black people. But you can't. He's not the president of Black people. He was president of the United States, and the United States is majority white. He can't just single us out. Well, the other white people do it, but he can't be like them because he's not like them. He had to be extraordinary, which I think he was, and I just think his hands were tied too much. There's another person. Tell me if you heard of these people or not. Victor Glover, he's 44 years old, the first Black astronaut to live and work on the International Space Station. Never heard of him, right? Nicholas Johnson, the first Black valedictorian at Princeton. Never heard of him, right? Jason Wright, 38 years old, the first Black president of an NFL team. Still haven't heard of him. I had to go and research some of these guys. Even though they're the tremendous first Black people in such and such, can we say that these people are true leaders? They're examples that we can follow. How many kids want to be an astronaut? Black kids. Really? No, they don't want to be an astronaut. They don't care about that. A valedictorian at Princeton? Only 40% of them graduate anyway. They don't even care about high school, let alone college, let alone get into an Ivy League school. They don't care. The first Black president of an NFL team. They'll play in the league and they think, oh, now I'm hood rich. No, you can be rich, but you have to be up there on the owners to be wealthy, because those are people that cut your checks. Like say Shaq is rich. The guy that cuts Shaq's check, that dude is wealthy. Like the Waltons, the Walmart owners, those people are wealthy. We don't even have the capacity, I don't think, to believe that we can make it to those levels. because the example hasn't been set. It's only been shown through sports. Oh, you could be a billionaire rapper. You could be a billionaire basketball player. So everybody wants to be a billionaire basketball player. And they forget about school. They forget about graduation. They forget about working. I know Tony Simmons, you touched on this earlier. Working. Hey, get a good job, work hard. You can get whatever you want in life. I was lied to like I'm. I am tired. I'm tired. If you don't get out here and work for your own dream, somebody will hire you to help you build theirs. And that's my motto moving forward. You can always get a job and help somebody else get rich. And then why not do it for yourself? But how's this message coming from this panel to the House? It's not. It's not. We can't. It's hard to get brothers to even log on. I'm doing this, or I'm too busy that. That's why I picked Tuesday. The reason I picked Tuesday at the end of the month, because ain't no Monday night football, ain't no Thursday night football, ain't no Friday night sports, ain't no Saturday or Sunday. There'll be too many excuses. Nothing happens on Tuesday. So I pick every Tuesday night, and I still get excuses to come on here and listen. The mindset has to change. And we cannot change the mindset because we've been systemically conditioned. And that's what this all boils down to. We've been consistently, systemically conditioned to not want to get above here. And the rest of the world operates. Well, we playing checkers and the rest of the world playing chess. So how do we get in the game, Coach? How do we get in the game? My next question is to you guys. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Do black men have a strong enough political presence? This would be a walk in the park. This is softball here. Do we have a strong enough political presence?
I think we all know the answer to that.
We do, but most of it is already hand-tied, suppressed, and you're bought and paid for. Because the system is our new racist enemy.
Okay.
They don't put on the hoods anymore. They have systematically changed every aspect of the so-called system to where it is stacked against you. And if you do not have the wherewithal to seek how to make your money make you money, we will always and consistently be where we were and where we're heading to. It has to change within. The key word that has been pronounced tonight is the mindset. You change your mindset with a systemic plan to move, and you got to see it through. There are going to be some failures along the way, as some people call them. To me, they are educational lessons. I didn't fail at it. I learned how to do it better. And once I do that and have the wherewithal to stand with it, then success will find me. Because money, once you learn that old adage, money chases money. When you learn how to make money, money will come to you because the money will draw money to itself. It's been proven too many times. We just have to find the niche to get in it, stay in it, and it's not going to change overnight. Trust me, we didn't get here overnight, and we're not going to change it overnight. Yes, but we have to learn to come together to say, hey, look, if Damien got some insurance information that's knowledge to help us, let's learn this. Let's grasp it, because we already know the insurance industry, how much it makes.
Really?
It's been proven. But there are other avenues as well, too, that all of this expertise that we can grasp, bring it together on a format such as this and see it through.
Yes. And I'm going somewhere with the political presence question. But Leonard, Massey, David, anybody want to answer that too? Do we have a strong enough political presence?
I don't think we do.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, I really don't think we do. And a lot of that is we're not even educated about our own government system. You can go out there and ask a millennial today and ask them what's the, 3 divisions of the government, and they can't even tell you what they are, let alone what they do. And I don't care what you say, the system is rigged for president, because how is it that the majority vote gets outweighed by a representative of your area who can be bribed, who can be about who's going to be the guy that's going to run? You know, we don't even really understand how the system works. But what we really should be more aware of, like I was said earlier, why are we not involved with your local government?
Okay, is that because there's a lack of knowledge?
I think it's a lot of the lack of knowledge.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think it's more so a lack of trust, a lack of desire because of a lack of trust.
Okay.
I think a lot of us don't even desire to be involved with politics because we just assume and we think that it's a lost battle. The odds are stacked against us either way. The system is rigged, you know, and that of course, so that brings about another question, right? I mean, you know, this is because we live in a capitalist society. Is that ideal for us? That's you know what I'm saying. That makes you think about that. Is it that we are not as heavily involved in politics as maybe we should be, because it's not the system for us. I mean, maybe if we were, we would have more of a opportunity to impact some of the systemic approaches that would work against us, you know. But can we get past the threshold of there being no desire because of a lack of trust?
Okay. Now I'm going somewhere with this. Because we've all talked about the system and how it's stacked against you and how it's not made for us to succeed. One of our older leaders that was sadly killed, Malcolm X, spoke about. Oh, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
I got a question. Just of this group right here. At what age or how young did you get your children involved in politics? It was something I never discussed with my son because, like he said, I didn't think it was really that important. So before I go out there and start trying to pull somebody else's coattail, I got to start at home. I didn't talk to my son about Republicans or Democrats or, you know, voting rights and stuff like that. Am I the only one, or
I still have.
Well, yeah. Well, you in the Carolinas at the time, especially, I just remember when Jimmy Carter had won. I'm in my lunchroom, and everybody stopped what they were doing to celebrate that he won at the school. All right, and obviously, you know, he's Democratic or whatever. And when you think about this, what are most Black people considered to be? Democratic, right?
Right.
And it's very strong in the South. Okay, very strong over there about them teaching you. You had no choice but to be part of it because it was being talked about around you. But I also remember year after year, you were being taught about the government.
Yeah.
See, you were being taught. So whether you were teaching or not, it was something the school was doing or should have been doing. But look at it today, or what they teach them about anything about the government, how bills are made. Like we literally took a trip from North Carolina to DC to learn about how the bills are made, how they affect.
I remember that old song, "I'm just a bill sitting
Right. Right.
As much as I knew about the government.
See that frustrates me as well about the South is because they've allowed to stay red states for so long. And even though they're red states, they're consistently at the bottom of everything important for the last 100 years, probably. So how can that be? More prominent preachers and like I say, athletes and leaders are coming up, but the South is still considered like red states all the way around, from Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, all red states, all red, and they've been that way, and nothing has changed. But who steps up?
In Florida, you still see a Confederate flag, sir.
Right, that's it. So how is that possible? That frustrates me. How can all these brothers and sisters, especially like I don't even know how Black people still live in Mississippi. I understand.
Exactly.
It throws me for a loop that people say, "Hey, I live in Mississippi." How? How there's
Program.
nowhere else on the planet to live except Mississippi? That's all. That's the best you can come up with. Come on, man. Let's go. But
It's the
okay,
programming. It's the
I
programming out there.
I
But
want
as
to go
well, if you go back to remembering in the 70s and beyond, black people owned a lot of land. A lot of land was being handed down. And a lot of political moves and laws that were being made was to take that land. Right.
right.
And if we all go back
Eminent
and really
domain.
start, yeah, exactly. If you go back and go look at your own heritage and make it back as far as you can, your family owns some land that was supposed to have been passed down to you. They
Right.
were very smart about how they did things, and they didn't take a college degree, right? They
Right.
knew the laws, right? And I implore you all, if you haven't did this yet, you need to go to Amazon and get a book called Common Laws. Read through that thing. I don't care if while you're on the toilet, whatever, read a page a day. It would shock you with what you would learn from common laws that apply everywhere. That we're no longer in the know about the laws.
Yeah.
I'm since we went over the whole thing with being in a certain system and how it's stacked against it, we all know about the whole theme of this call. First was Malcolm and Martin, and then I pulled it over into Black leadership. That was the last time I think we had prominent figures or figureheads at the head of two different but similar movements that trying to condition our people to do what we need to do. And Malcolm X stated that he believed that Black people should have their own. He believed that Black people should be independent of the system that's created for us and form our own system. So my last question, well, not my last question, but one of the last questions. Knowing what you know now, I probably take this all the way off the rails. Knowing what you know now about politics and the system that we're involved in right now, who was more right? Not who was wrong, but who was more right, Malcolm or Martin?
So I would say, so my answer is going to be Malcolm.
Okay.
And I do talk to my son about politics. When we ride to school in the morning, I listen to talk radio. I listen to the conservative stations. Why? I play football the majority of my life. The number one thing we did every week is we had to watch film on the competition. We had to know what they were thinking, know how they were moving. But when you do that, you kind of learn some things that you may not be privy to because the majority of us are Democrat. So I consider myself more of an independent. So I want my son to be an entrepreneur. The majority of the entrepreneurial thinking or thinkers come from the Republican side of the table, of the aisle. So
we're going to call you Black Republican.
Say that again.
We're going to call you Black Republican then. Okay.
Right. Of course. Trust me. I'm ready for it. I'm ready. But you know, my original reason for doing that is because I didn't have a father. I didn't have anybody to teach me about entrepreneurship. So I wanted to learn. So I started delving out and listening to different things. So of course, you had your Rush Limbaughs and you had your Keynes and all these guys who would really tick me off when I would listen to them. Even Sean Hannity ticks me off when I listen to them, right? Because I want to know what they're thinking. But that leads me to talk to my son about politics, and that as it's a part of the world that we live in. So these things are important. With that in mind, I would side more with Malcolm. Martin got more done. Martin was able to get more done because he was more cooperable. He was more. He worked with the powers that be. You know, he kind of. You know what I'm saying? Malcolm was a little bit more. I'm going to stand my ground, 10 toes down. So I do believe that if we have more of an independent approach, if we were segregated, you know, if we did have our own stores, our own things, we would probably have a little bit more power. if you will.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna come back to that when you said Martin got more done. Leonard.
So I think that this is the reason why today we don't have any black leaders we can find. You got to look at their platform. Malcolm used his relationship with Islam, with the Nation of Islam, to thrust himself forward. Martin used his political issues as far as helping Rosa Parks during the march from Selma. Those kind of things. I mean, those promoted him up. We don't have events going on like that now. Besides, what do you call it? Black stuff with the black T-shirts.
Right.
We still haven't pulled nobody out to escalate them into that platform to say, okay, this is a potential leader right here. I mean, everything Damon says is correct. I mean, I just throwing some more gravy on what he was saying. He's correct.
But who do you feel?
Independent. Who do I think?
Yeah.
They both. I can't say one yet.
Okay. Okay.
Can't say one yet.
Okay.
They
You
both
can't
have the
leave.
same mission. They both have the same mission to help us out of racism, because it was far worse then than it is now.
Okay.
I mean, the I Dream speech is still living on. It's still living on. I mean, with all people.
Okay. Tony.
That if we have not yet begun to understand that from the time that I grew up in the mid 60s and the state of the United States here in the South we were in, there have been changes, but there have not been many changes in the South, because this system has been played with, manipulated, and it has been set forth that you, as a black man, I don't care if I put an Indian in a store that comes from across the world, give them a loan to open up a service station, a gas station, and you apply for the same thing and do not get it. There is a reason for that. And it's not politics. It's not going to be who you vote for. It's going to be because, again, I do not want you, as the system, I do not want you as a black man to have a foothold on anything. Yes, even those that make it into the political arena. Let's not forget, let's understand that some of the white folks put them there strategically to pull blacks against each other. How many times do we have to keep seeing the same scenario? As long as we're fighting against each other, they are winning. That's the system designed. From the early 60s, when the black man was told, you cannot be in the same household with your family. Ladies, if you bring that black man into this apartment complex, what we call public housing, you will be put out of public housing, and you cannot get housing anywhere else in public housing. That's the law. This is what we're up against. But until we realize that our strength is in each other, we have to gravitate and start to, as Damon said, and I continue to say, trust in each other. Good, bad, or indifferent. I got you, my brother. I got your back.
Okay. But and to put a bow on all of that, which side do you lean more toward? Martin?
To me, why make a choice? Both will get you what you need.
I just want to see if we can say
be more one or the other because of our personality.
So which one or the other for you?
A Martin, because again, I understand the environment that I came up in. There are people that's going to be in positions that you're going to have to utilize their assistance to get you where you need to be. I understand true that as a Malcolm, I'm not putting up with that. I ain't playing with you like that.
Okay.
And there's a time that you need to do that. Even the Bible speaks to it.
Mhm.
There's
All
a
right.
time and a place for what? Everything under the sun.
I got you.
We
I
have
got
to be
you.
strategic enough to know when and how to use it.
So you're still center line.
All day long.
Okay. And
Because
Leonard
again,
still center.
I know,
Anderson.
I know from a law enforcement officer, if you don't have tact, you're not going to survive on the streets.
Right.
You have to have tact. You have to know when to use which method to communicate and to be effective with that. You have to know when to use it and how to use it. Not everybody needs to go to jail. There's some people you just put them and say, hey, look, bro, come on. Let me holler at you for a second.
That's it.
And
That
you
is
can
it.
get more done and accomplished that way than in by saying, taking them to the ground and putting handcuffs on them.
Massive.
So can I
Um,
can I touch on what Tony said real quick?
Go ahead.
Okay. Real quick.
Real quick. He said, oh man, I just lost my train of thought. He said, they, wow. I just lost my train of thought.
It's
So the point that he was making was that they will bring an Indian over, a foreigner over, and give them a loan and a 7-year grace period, so that they can. But if we apply for the same loan, they won't give it to us, right? And that there's an approach to keep us out. That's one of the reasons that I chose Malcolm. I think Malcolm's. Well, first we have to understand that there is something special about us. There's something different about us, right?
Definitely. Definitely.
Because why is it that for so long the odds have been stacked up against us, or there have been strategic approaches to keep us down? Why is it that if one guy applies with apples compared to apples, and we apply, that guy gets it and we don't get it, right? That's all the more reason why I kind of lean more toward Malcolm's theory, because what Malcolm was saying was for us to be independent, for us to be us, well, for us to support us, right? For us to get involved with us and lift us up and empower ourselves, right? That's one of the reasons why he believed in segregation, right? Because then it would allow us to realize our true potential as men and as a community. You know what? Yeah.
Let me get massive real quick. Let me get massive.
Well, no, I mean, again, I'm all Malcolm all day long, and even more today, so Malcolm, because I think we forget that very thing about Malcolm. Malcolm wasn't always trying to be a violent person. He just wasn't going to be a pushover. And he believed in, hey, how can we start intermingling with other people when we're not together as a whole? Right? We're not together as a whole minded like all the other communities. And they're very much, even when they don't like each other, you wouldn't know it because they still understand a bigger picture. They tell the same lie. Regardless of it being a lie, they tell the same lie. Right? And so, and with us, and the reason why he was against segregation, and what we don't really look at is schools, colleges, I don't care what you say, they're meant to marginalize you. They use it to marginalize us, to train us, to put you in that ordeal. So his understanding was, hey, we are special. We do have something that we can teach each other and be separate. And if you go back to figure out why we did fight for this whole, hey, let's get everybody together in the same schools, were we really pushing for that? Or was it made to look like that was something that we were pushing for? Because when we're off to ourselves, they can't really know what we're doing and control what we're doing. But if I get you into the school system of mine and get you to buy into it, well, now I can direct your generations beyond. I can sabotage your authority in your home because of what I will be teaching them, because I see your child more than you see them.
Right.
I influence them more than you do because I got you on the grind.
You can indoctrinate.
Exactly. Isn't that what we do? Yeah, isn't that what they do in the military when you go to boot camp, the transformation?
Right.
You are inducting your kid into transformation, even going back to the thing that we don't even realize, and our parents didn't realize. when you sign a birth certificate, why is it so important that the man's signature is on there for it to be valid? Right? And one of the reasons is when you sign it as the man, because there's still man law going on just behind the scenes, it becomes authenticated that that child now has been registered to the state. That's, you no longer own your child when you sign that birth certificate. Reason why they can come get them. You've registered them like a car, right?
And that's
So Malcolm was very aware of a lot of things. That man was very educated. The question that I asked you both to look at is, what was the real demise of them both? Because they both died young. What was their demise? Because didn't Malcolm get shot by somebody black?
supposedly.
No, but supposedly he got a name. I'll shoot it to you. Yes, and then on top of that, he also went across the water and went to the Nation of Islam and figured out that what we were being taught here is the Nation of Islam really wasn't Nation of Islam on how they really do it. There's black, there's white, there's all different types of colors over there, right? And then the real big problem as to why they had to get rid of Malcolm, not only did he have a lot of influence, became the face, but he realized there was some janky stuff going on.
Right.
What do y'all think the jankiness was?
Well, for one, they called it the Black Muslims over here, Black Muslim movement, because they know people aren't educated on the outside.
Exactly. But then when you look at that, the real big thing that this was about was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was making money tax free. Then they told him, hey, you calm your boy down. If you don't, we're going to expose that as well, right?
The system.
So that's why I myself wanted to say that I wholeheartedly, not even lean, I stand behind Malcolm. Well, see, for the longest I was contractually obligated to the United States military, and that was my job. That was my position. So politically, you couldn't speak out, so to speak. You couldn't speak and say what you wanted to say. Now I'm out of that contract. I've retired from that. Now I can say something. And I don't know why they fought so hard for segregation. I mean, you see what they did with Tulsa when the United States was going through a Great Depression. It wasn't happening on Black Wall Street because we were independent. They're like, oh, we can't have this, burnt it to the ground. And so many other instances where Black people were doing most, they burned it to the ground. Schools, churches, anything like that. Oh, it's successful. We got to burn that. We can't have that because that's successful. Like, I'm not going to force you to serve me at a lunch counter where you don't want to be served. I ain't going to have you making my food back there. And I'm going to force you to serve me. No, I can't see you making the food. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'll go over here to my auntie house. We'll eat over there. Because I can trust that. But I'm not going to force you to serve me. If you don't want me, okay, we'll open up our own restaurants. We'll open up our own schools. We'll do our own thing. And why do we have, I mean, we got Black millionaires, billionaires. Why can't we pool some of those resources together and get our own gas stations, dental offices, hospitals, clinics, department stores, clothing stores, car dealerships, things like that. Oh, everybody good at a hair and nail shop. Everybody good at a restaurant. We don't need no more of them. We need the things that's going to create a community and keep our money inside our own community. But that's the case. We got to have our own. And I stand 100%. I even go so far as we're never equal in this system. I call for an entire exodus back to the motherland, back to the continent. It's a whole continent of resources and a system where everybody looks just like us and we all run it. It's all for us. But that requires a mindset change of getting dependent or growing yourself from being dependent to this American way of life to being independent enough to where, you know, once I get out of here, I got to work hard and build my own family up, build my own community up, and then lead it. And mentally, I don't think a lot of Black men are there. Our ladies have done a great job. Our ladies have done a great job in leading what they call their households through these last 40, 50, 60 years. They did a good job. But what is the state of America right now? In the Black America? What's the state of it? Chaos. And the only people that can right the ship are sitting on this panel. Not to say that ladies can't do it. They need our help because the strength that it requires, the focus, the logic, the determination it requires can only come from the minds of men because you can't have too much emotion when you're dealing with that. You got to be steadfast. You got to be stoic. You got to be solid. You got to be a man. And until we learn that, then the system is going to dominate us because we're indoctrinated by women and white people, and that's what it is. And I don't hate anybody else. I just think we'll be more successful with ourselves. And if it was just us by ourselves, so that's my opinion. I'm not leaning at all. I'm standing behind it. But that's my next question. If I was called, or either one of you were called to step out and lead, would you be willing to do so? Would you be willing to put your own reputation out there? Would you be willing to step up and lead from the front this community where you're at, if called? Yes or no?
I absolutely have no issue with it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think once you get to this point, understanding really how important it is. If you're really about your own community and your own kids see their kids and their kids grow up in such an environment that makes sense for them and that's even and fair, you have no choice but to put it online, because it's amazing all the other things that we're willing to put our life on the line for that really isn't benefiting you. We got people joining the military every day that ready to give their lives for something that's not going to benefit them and their families down the road.
And I can testify to that.
That's what I'm saying.
20-something years. Get nothing from it. Let it. I see you sit back. Yeah, what you got?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if you don't even stand for nothing, then you're not doing nothing at all. I mean, you're wasting everybody's time. I mean, how the hell are you gonna tell your kids that they should stand up for something and you're not? I mean, everybody's watching you, everything you do. It don't matter who you think you are, or who they think you are, but they're watching you so they can know if they can follow you. And then once you make that first mistake, then they know, okay, I can't. Once you show a sign of weakness, they know they can't follow you.
Okay. So let me try to put a bow on this portion of it with, if you knew that the price to pay was to martyr yourself, because we know Martin died young, Malcolm died young. They would never be as old as some of us are now. I know, from the Emmett Tills and the Medgar Evers and all those guys. If you knew that that's the price you had to pay, would you still stand up?
I mean, the right thing right now is to say yes, but I would have to have a community of people behind me.
Right.
I'm just not going to run there by myself. I got to know I got the support of my community, and it's what we're fighting for, to make sure we all get the same goals and we lead for the same thing.
Tony?
Yeah, I even now, our lives are already on the line.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking to see who is willing to step forward. How much are you willing to step forward? How much of your integrity are you willing to stand for? It's already known for those of us who show ourselves as father figures, community leaders, on our so-called job or in our profession. Even when you retire, so to speak, you have already put yourself on the front line. They recognize if you stand for integrity, people know this about you. They're not going to allow you to only get so far. Then you have to decide how much further you're going to push yourself to go. And you got a target on you even as you do it. Do not think for 1 second that when you type and do a search on your computer, that it's not being recognized as to what it is that you may be contemplating doing. Because again, the system has already put these parameters in place to wherever we go, whatever we look for, whatever we try to do, they're trying to get ahead of us to put something in between us from making it happen. Fellas, I can't say enough. I look forward to the day that one day we will all be in the same room at the same place at the same time, bringing our ideas and principles together to put forth something that we can move forward with and be able to reach and pull some others with us.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking forward to that day.
Mr. Massey.
Oh, like I said, that definitely, for sure, you have to go ahead and put yourself in the position to build it, and they will come. All right. And when you put yourself in the position to build it, everything else becomes much easier. And a lot of that is surrounded by, again, educate yourself, knowing, being self-aware of your crowd, but also it's going to take money, no matter what, right? It's going to take some money to get some things done and get some things moved, right? And if you're financially savvy enough to have yourself put into a position where there are people that, like you said, come over here and they're getting $4,000 a month for each family member just because they're not considered Americans or U.S. citizens, they're considered refugees, right? Or immigrants, right? Did you know that there's so many ways out there for you to make money just to wake up? It's ridiculous.
Hmm.
But because we don't understand the laws and we don't understand the system, we tend to be victimized in it. And like I said, Marcus, you know what I do? I help people every day as much as possible. And I do it with a passion because I know they don't know what they don't know. And I know they don't know how really important it is for that generational wealth that can be provided for them. But I can tell you, with our community, I have to have an extra patience with us because I know we didn't get that way overnight, right?
Exactly.
I had to get to that point, because when they're like, nah, I ain't gonna do it, or fall through on a bunch of things. Well, you have to understand they've been transformed to think that way for years. They're not going to be, untransformed in many ways or overnight, in a new mindset. You have to keep dropping them seeds and then let them grow it, right? But I could tell you, outside of our community, when I'm helping people, I can't even finish my sentence on what I do. And they're like, hey, you had me at this point when you said you could do this. And they're not doing it just for themselves. They're saying, hey, I want my mom, my dad, my pastor, people in their community that they care about, right? Us, I have to go through, well, are you 100%? Hey, is this a scam? Is this a scam?
So, everything, everything.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you. But we didn't get that way overnight, because when you hear some of their stories, somebody paid $6,000 or close to $10,000 to go from 30% to 40 to 30% to 90% of their VA.
Mm-hmm.
$6,000.
That's an investment in yourself.
That's an investment in itself, right? And again, they were willing to give another $6,000 to get the rest of it.
Right. And
so once you get hit in the head like that, you're very leery of somebody saying that you're not charging nowhere near that, and you're going to help me get to where I gotta go. So you gotta have that thing, right? And one thing I do like about what I do, people don't trust me because I'm me. They trust me because the people that bring them to me.
Right. And that's another thing about trust. We very early in the call established that you got to have some sort of money, status, or influence. And Damien, I'm gonna still come to you because I got a question. We got to have some influence and stuff to be trusted, to people to follow us as a leader. Now, I'm probably never going to be a social influencer. I'm not going to be a big, because I don't think about it. I rely on word of mouth. Even with this, I put it out to everybody. If people join, they do. If they don't, they don't. I can't make anybody follow. But we got water for days over here, and somebody have to lead all of our horses to this water. And it will. Can we get past that point of you got to have status, you got to have influence, you got to have money in order to be followed? Can our platform ever be big enough as regular Joes that go to our regular quote unquote 9-to-5ers? Can we be followed? Can we be trusted as just regular men to be leaders in the community?
So really, we don't have a choice.
Okay.
This is the road that we've been given to journey on until we construct and build a bigger and better road for us to journey on. Uh, we have so many challenges that we have to face, but the reality still must be that we have to, if you don't realize that you have a sickness or illness or something that's affecting you, you're not going to ever address it.
Okay.
We have to realize what we're up against. It's not our fault per se, but again, we did have to have some realization that we have to build a better system for ourselves, because the system that's designed for us is not working with us. It's working against us.
I was going to ask, can that road you're speaking of be built inside of this system that we're in?
Yes. If we have the structural mindset to come together, we have to first realize that we are on a road, but if there is a better road, if we have to build it ourselves, we have to. Whether it's here in the United States, like you mentioned, even if it's in the motherland, whatever the case may be, we have to come to some agreement that there is a better that we have to build. If we want it, we have to get it. We have to achieve it. We have to do it. We have to come up with the plan, and we have to have the fortitude to stay with it and know that this road that we are building is going to take us where we need to go. Going to have to make some detours, whatever the case may be. But let's build it and not be afraid of it.
All right, David, back to you.
Yes, I think that there's a couple of things. First, we have to be doing the work, right? We have to be doing the work. That means we have to be involved and actively doing the work, working on ourselves, working on being better fathers, being better leaders. We have to be leaders. We have to lead ourselves first.
Okay.
Then we have to lead our children, and then we can be leaders in the community.
Okay.
Another thing that I want to address in regard to this question is, and this is a major topic, and it's the pink elephant in the room, is religion. At some point, we have to come to grips with the fact that we are all over the place. Because we don't know who we are. So right. we are Hebrews, we are Muslims, we are Christians, we are atheists, we're everything. We can't be, and sadly enough, they say it's a separation of church and state. There's not. The government uses religion. Every Sunday morning, they know where a percentage of Black people are going to be. Every Friday afternoon, they know where a percentage of Black people are going to be in the mosques. Right? They can set up, just from an advertising, a marketing standpoint, they can set up advertising campaigns to specifically target Muslims or Christians, and they're going to market it based on, okay, we know on Sunday we're going to do a campaign like this. On Friday we're going to do a campaign like this. There's no separation of church and state. They can manipulate us and maneuver, because we are all over the place. That's a huge feat right there. That's a huge issue that we have to address.
Right.
We have to
address that. We will address that. I think we could probably go for another 2 hours on religion alone, but there is a limit on the call that we could do tonight. But I think what you're saying is absolutely right. Let's get Leonard real quick and Mr. Massey.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that, Damon. I gotta agree with you on that one. I mean, we're all over the place. I mean, look at us just in this panel. I mean, I'm not Islamic, but I go to the Baptist church, so it's kind of hard for me to say I'm on Malcolm's side. You know, that, I mean, that's just, it means nothing. Like you said, we all over the place. But back to your question, Mr. Brad. So President Obama didn't become president just by all black folks voting for him. He had to have some Caucasians assisting him too. So until we impress our people enough to where we can kick a leader out there to impress them unprejudiced white folks to help us, then that path, that road will start getting longer. You know what I'm saying? Now we get some people come over to our side. But it's going to take a lot. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Right. I believe
Absolutely
that.
right.
I believe that. Massive.
Yeah, like Mr. Love said, we definitely going to have to be inclusive. But getting back to the basics of everything, who is holding each other accountable? Who holds you accountable? Right? And we all need it, right? We all need to get a good, swift kick in the butt every now and again. I think I need it about at least every 6 months, right? To make sure you're on track. And then, by the way, if you don't know what you don't know, then how can you go anywhere? If you don't know what questions to ask, right? You don't know. You don't know what you need to know in order to go forward. You ask most people today, what is it they want to do and be, and down the road, most teenagers will tell you, I don't know. There's a lot of adults that they don't know.
I think that's a crutch for a lot of. That's a go-to crutch for a lot of people. Well, we don't know.
When they've never been challenged, nobody's ever challenged them. You think about your surroundings for you to go where you went and make something of yourself. Somebody challenged you to do something. The military definitely does that. I don't care who you are. If the military is for you or not, you are going to find out who you are. Okay? Because not knowing what you don't like tells you just as much as what you do like. Right? But it's a lot of times we're not even being challenged to get on a road to figure out who we are and what do we really want and what we should be wanting, right? And if you go back to these religions, again, they're just like races. Races are set up to separate you, right? You got Spanish, you got black Spanish, you got light skin, you got dark skin, mixed this, that, whatever. Black is not a culture, right? It's a color, right?
Right.
So, but when you mark yourself on that application, guess what they figure out about you?
I'm so glad you mentioned that.
You don't know who you are, and I should treat you as if you don't know who you are, right?
Exactly.
See, I did a call. I did a call on this the other night. What is more appropriate to be called now, Black American or African American? And
you fall into even that, because have you been to Africa? We've been to Africa. Were you born in Africa?
That's what I wanted to get at, and that's probably how we could start to bring this to a close here. Is who are we, whether it be spiritually or nationalities or cultures or whatever. If we continue to describe ourselves as African American, and you could disagree with me if you want to, if we continue to describe ourselves as African American, we'll never make the move to become more African in our culture, because we don't follow the culture. We don't follow the religions. We don't follow the rules. We don't do the customs and courtesies and ceremonies of all these African nations that we're supposedly from. We follow the American traditions. We follow the American customs. We follow the American way of life. So they just throw all Black people in a bag by saying, you're Black, you must be from Africa. You could be from the Caribbean, Costa Rica, Virgin Islands, Jamaica, Haiti, whatever. If you're Black, you just from Africa. We just throw you all in one big pot. And nobody else has to do that, because all these Europeans, they're not European American, not German American, they're not Irish American, they're just white. So I think if we label ourselves as Black Americans, which I think we're Americans who just happen to be Black, because we're so far removed from the original enslaved people. We're so far, generationally wise, so far removed. Once we say, okay, we're Black Americans, but we want to be Africans, we now have to do the work to move ourselves culturally, religiously, spiritually, all those things back towards Africanism to be considered true Africans, even so much as to leave this continent and go back to the other one, because that's where we belong anyway. So that was my opinion on that. I'm glad you brought that up. We call ourselves African Americans, but we're not, and that separates us in a way that we won't even fight to become more like who we are. So if you don't know who you are or where you're from, you have to where you're going. If you don't know who you are and where you're from, you cannot possibly have a roadmap to where you want to go. Because hey, I'm already African. I'm here. No, you're not. You're not. All of my parents were born in America, and their parents, and their parents, and their parents, and their parents. We probably go back 100 generations. It's all in America. So starting here at home with us, and I guess it's our challenge to grow the program. I have to challenge each one of you to bring 2 people to the next one if you can. But
yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I want to take it a little bit farther.
Okay.
I mean, the only way this platform is really going to expand is to have some sponsorship. How about we call these radio shows? You know,
Okay.
more these morning shows and tell them what we're doing.
I got you.
We listen to them every morning. How about they kick back some support to us? Just come sit in one show. That's all I'm asking. You ain't gonna get no money up. Come sit in the show, put some knowledge forth here.
I've sent so
many God every day. Every day I listen to it.
I've sent so many emails to programs and I just send it out with the YouTube channel. Hey, listen to some of these shows, listen to some of these calls, get on, just listen. Just listen. The information may be life changing. And I know we have the ability to impact one. So if each one of us just bring one to the next one, I think we can have a serious impact moving forward because we have a year's worth of calls behind us and we got a year's worth of calls in front of us. And I'm gonna keep changing up and pushing forward. But you guys, it's a difficult road to hoe, so to speak, and it's all uphill. And sometimes we have ice skates on, and we just gotta be determined to not give up, to not let ourselves down and let our people down because they're counting on us. And whether they know it or not, these very same conversations, even if we just get people to talk about it, maybe that'll bring some awareness to our situation, how it needs to change. And each person that we add to the panel, like Mr. Damon, I'm glad you showed up today because we were missing a couple other guys that didn't make it. And you throw some more insight in there. There is no knowledge that is not power. Forget about the political landscape because we can come up with our own political policy. Forget about the own financial landscape because we got our own money. Like I said, 2019, Black people total in America spent $1.2 trillion. Imagine if that was all in our community. Had our own systems in place to keep that revolving around us, in our own schools, our own doctor office, our own dental, our own insurance agencies, our own grocery stores, gas stations, all those things. Imagine if we can, if Tulsa, if Black Wall Street were allowed to flourish and not burn to the ground, imagine where it'd be with 100 years. Imagine how many wealthy Americans, not rich, how many wealthy Black Americans, not just Oprah and Michael Jordan, it would be hundreds, if not thousands of us. So I don't want to keep it rolling, but it's been almost an hour and 40 minutes, and I know it's getting late. I know some of us got to get up tomorrow. I know I do. Gentlemen, if you have any other comments you would like to end the show with before I ask Mr. Simmons to pray us out, I'll take all comments if you want.
I just want to say, always a pleasure to get together with you guys and talk on some great things and get some insight and bring us, one more step closer to achieving even our individual goals, even as a group goal. And that's to get more people out and get more people aware, right? And how do you do this better than you did yesterday, right? And so always appreciate you guys showing up and being there because it definitely means. It speaks to who you are and it speaks to the passion of what this means to you as well. So, and your shared example helps others show up as well. So
Yes,
appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir.
Amen.
Yes, sir. I would like to add too that I've been called to be a speaker at an event next year in Atlanta. So I'm going to talk on the invisible killer of men, and that's trauma. Because we suffer in silence, and I think that needs to be a topic that's spoke on. So I'm going to use my time and platform in that show to speak on that. What I'm trying to do as well is that weekend is get a live call. I know most of us are located somewhat. I know Massey, you way out west, but if we can get a small panel, if a regular panel together in Atlanta, and do a live show and get us, like Mr. Simmons said, get us all together and shake each other hand and sit down and actually put something concrete on paper that we can all talk about a collective message, so to speak, and not like a manifesto or anything like that for nothing evil, but to, hey, Black men, wake up. Here's something. And then we move along with it. So I'm going to try to use that platform to get a live call together next year. I think sometime in April, the end of the month. Matter of fact, I think it's like the 26th or 27th or something like that in April of next year. So once I speak, then one of the days will be to get a live call together. So if y'all hang with me, we're going to keep elevating this thing out. And like I said, we use as much knowledge as we can to gain as much power as we can. And our people perish for lack of knowledge. Let's try to end that. Try to bring that to a close where we all can inform and teach each other. But with that, Mr. Simmons, if you would, please, sir.
Again, Father, we come thanking you for what you have done and what you have given. We thank you for your insight, for allowing us to speak, Father, through you, through what you have given us. Thank you for each one of us. We ask that you continue to have your strong arm around us and to protect and to lead and to guide. Take care of our families, our loved ones. And Father, we know that with you, all things are possible. We just need to continue to trust and believe in your precious and holy name. And until we meet again, may each one of us continue to trust, believe, and hold on to God's unchanging hand. Let every heart that know his name say amen.
Amen. Gentlemen, thank you very much. And look at that. Jesse Archie pulls into the panel.
Right.
Hey man, I'm still not home. I'm sorry.
It's good to have you. So I'm glad you listened in. And of course, I'll hang around for a few minutes after the stream ends. If anybody want to make any comments there offline. But gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to have you all here tonight. So again, if anyone wants to stay around, I have the group open for a little bit. But I would like to thank the audience. Again, my name is Marcus Bradley, host and founder of the XY Perspective. The panel has presented its words and said what it needs to say. And we look forward to seeing you all again next month at the next call. Y'all be safe, and I love you all. Good night.